Hi everybody, Mike Carroll here from Fit for Golf, and I'm very happy to be partnering with Steve Furlonger to try and merge the biomechanics of the swing, which Steve has become an expert in, particularly with the force plates and ground reaction force, as he talked about, with physical development, which is something that I've been working in for a long time.
Hi, my name is Steve Furlonger and I'm a PGA golf professional and full-time coach at Bletchley Golf Club in the UK. So I specialise in ground reaction forces. So Mike and I have teamed up to do this ground reaction force speed and power video series. Mike will be prescribing you during the phases of the golf swing as I explain that you create ground reaction force. Mike's going to be prescribing the exercises that you can do to help you increase your ground reaction forces.
I'm going to try and give you an exercise to help the feel of what Steve has described in his 4-phase model, and also try and enhance how much force you can produce in each of those phases. I'm going to break it down into 4 phases, just like Steve did, and then I'm also going to show you how these phases merge together into one exercise or one movement, because that's really what the golf swing is. By adding some resistance to the movements, which I'm going to do now, it really does 2 things. Number 1 is that the added resistance forces us to slow down a little bit. And when we're forced to slow down, we have a slightly longer time to feel what's happening. And the resistance also allows us to produce a little bit more force, which may be useful for strength and power development. One key concept that I want to touch on is that these drills and exercises that I'm going to show you are not a replacement for an overall physical development plan. You're still going to need to do your heavy squatting, hinging, pulling, pushing. You're still going to need to do your jumping and throwing. This is just one piece of the overall plan to try and help merge together physical training and swing biomechanics.
So, phase 1 is the start of your golf swing. And I say this all the time on my social media channels, force precedes motion. So there's going to be a push through the ground that's going to move your body. So before you see it on video, there is a push action from your feet into the ground to put energy into the system to help you move. So phase 1 is the loading phase of the swing, and it starts from address and it ends at shaft horizontal to the ground, and it starts with a push. Before you see motion of the club and motion of the body, you start with a push off your lead foot. So that means your lead foot is pushing down and you're creating a force that's away from the target to help you move your body's center of mass and bump it towards your trail side nice and early, and that's going to help you create more rotation about your center. Okay, so we're pushing off of that lead side down and away. We're bumping the center of mass, think belly button, a little bit over towards your trail side, and that's going to start to ramp up that move, and we're going to complete that motion before the shaft hits its horizontal point. When the shaft hits horizontal, we are maxing out the force underneath your trail foot. So your foot is pushing downwards really hard and pushing forwards really hard, and what that's going to do is going to start to help you rotate your body at the latter part of the backswing. Okay, you are also generating a very gentle push away from your trail side so you don't keep swaying off the golf ball. Okay, so again, force is going to precede the motion of your body to help you get to a better backswing position.
So I'm going to start now with phase 1, and I'm going to show you phase 1 with both a resistance band and a medicine ball. If you have only one of them, that's the one you can use, and that's why I'm showing you both. You can also use a dumbbell or a kettlebell. For phase 1 of Steve's 4-phase model, I'm going to set up with the resistance band under my left foot or my lead foot. And then from here, I'm simply just going to grab on the band. It might take you a couple of reps to get the right tension. And I'm going to simulate as close as possible to a golf grip as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect because the band is different to a grip, but similar so that you get the same feeling. And then from here, what I'm going to focus on is as rapid an extension as possible on the band into that position 1 or phase 1 that Steve talked about. So what that's going to look like is I'll show you a little bit in slow motion first so you can get an idea, and then I'll do it at full speed. So I'm going to think about getting this band from this position to this position as quickly as possible. And naturally what that's going to do is force me to use that shift right and also start to extend up. So I'm going to show you a couple of reps at full speed. And what you can see happening naturally there as I try and extend this band as hard as possible is that I get the shift to the right, and I also start to get this right foot, or this right leg extending. You can do the same thing with a medicine ball, and that would really simply just be going here, just getting used to that feeling. And what you'll notice with the medicine ball is that the extra mass of the ball, this is 8 pounds, it really helps you get that feeling of shifting your mass a little bit to the right, and you can also feel your right leg extending. So this phase is definitely more of a feel drill rather than one that's really going to increase your strength.
So from the end of the load-in phase here then, shaft horizontal, we're going to enter phase 2 of the backswing. And that's good. I call this the upload phase, okay? So that force underneath that trail foot is going to power your body to rise up enough. The center of mass is going to lift a little bit, and it's going to help you get to the top of the backswing, which is going to be a very powerful position. And our force on our trail foot is starting to push away. So I'm pushing the ground in that direction a little bit as I reach the end of that upload phase. My body feels a little bit lighter than normal because I'm a little bit higher, okay? And I complete that upload with a push off that trail side, which is then going to help me enter the 3rd phase, which is the start of the downswing.
For phase 2, we're going to use the band again, and you're probably going to need either a lighter band or else hold the band so that there's not quite as much resistance. I'm going to go right up to the top. And this is what Steve calls the unloading phase, where we're trying to feel like we unweight ourselves and get as much of our mass traveled up as possible, because that's going to help to slam it down in transition. So all this is going to look like is we're going to start from this position that we got to with phase 1, and then from here I'm going to focus on extending that band up as much as possible. I'll feel a big stretch through my lats and obliques, a little bit of work on my shoulders, and I really feel that I'm trying to get my mass shifting up. And you'll see my left foot starting to come off the ground a little bit as well, which is okay. So here, and then up as much as we can. This is actually a really nice exercise to increase mobility, strength, but also get that feeling of from here, loading up as much as we can. So I feel like all the pressure is on my right side, and I've extended up as much as possible. I'll show you with the med ball, you can also get that feeling of getting to here and then trying to get up as high as we can.
So the start of the downswing, phase 3 of the 4 phases of power, is the download, okay? You've gone from this really high sort of uploaded point. We're going to now download. We've pushed off of that trail foot. We're now going to start to ramp up during the download phase. It's a very quick, very fast phase this is. We're going to push down underneath that lead foot really hard. Think stomping that foot on the ground. And when we push down, we're also going to push forward. So if you were standing on a clock face, the clock face looking back up through your foot, you're going to push out to 11 o'clock, down and out towards 11. And that force is going to help you produce a rotation about your body's center. That is A, going to help you rotate your body open, especially your lower body, and B, create enough tilt to launch it accordingly, whether it's driver, there's going to be more tilt to launch it off the high tee peg. We're going to have an ascending blow. The bottom of the swing arc is going to be behind the ball. The club is going to rise up and launch the ball up into the air. We're going to have less of that tilting position across the body so that we can create a more descending blow with the irons and wedges. So your body and your mass is going to be a little bit more forwards in that position during that download to help you get the descending blow onto the golf ball with the shorter clubs. But let's continue with driver. We're going to max out that down force and forward force, a little bit of a bump back to center or slightly ahead of center, or more so with the irons. Max out that force. When the arm hits horizontal, your lead arm or shaft vertical, you have maxed and reached your point that you finish your download move, okay? Your forces under your left foot are maxed right out. You've got that down and forward force that's going to create that upward motion of your lead side of your body and that around motion of your lead hip to help you open up, and then you're ready to start the final phase of the swing.
For phase 3, I'm going to put the band aside because I think it works much better either with a medicine ball, a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a weight that isn't elastic. So phase 3 is going to be the download or squat move in transition that we hear an awful lot about. I really like the feeling of the med ball for this because once we've gotten up into that unloaded phase, we can use the extra mass of the ball to get that feeling of really setting down. You may not catch your arm in the perfect position on this one because it's hard with the weight of the ball, but once we get up to the top, we can really feel that set or squat, and then we're ready for phase 4, which is the launch phase.
So we reach the end of the download. Arm is horizontal or shaft vertical. We've maxed out that force underneath the lead foot. The body, especially the lower body, is rotated around more than the upper body. We are entering the fourth and the final phase, which is going to include the impact, and that is the launching phase, okay? So why are we entering the launching phase? Because we've maximized that force under the foot. Now that energy is going to push up into the body, and our body center of mass is going to accelerate up really quickly in preparation to impact with the golf ball, okay? So my lead hip has pushed up and around. My pelvis has opened up as much as I'm able to, and my chest and rib cage is opened up as much as I can. My shoulders, depending on the ball flight that I'm looking for, are either closed for draw, square for straight, or open for fade. And our body is rising up and launching. And the launch continues all the way into your follow through. Some later than others. The faster players have quite a lot of foot action. Some even have the foot floating as the pelvis is turning round incredibly quick. Some have their feet planted when they do it. It's different for different people because it's all to do with the amount of force that you've got and energy into the system that's going to make the foot float and work that way. Okay, so we complete our launch phase on the mid follow through, and then we get into that classic pose that all the golf professionals and all the elite players get into.
For the launch phase, we're going to set up a band attached to an anchor, which I'm going to show you in a second, and I will also show you with a medicine ball in terms of a throwing exercise. For phase 4, the launch, I have set the resistance band I showed you that I was using earlier around a anchor point here. I'm using a cable machine. You could also use the cable machine for this, and you can just set it up to anything at home or at the gym that is similar. You just need a sturdy anchor point. I've set it quite low, roughly between knee and hip height, because we want to when we set this low, it really forces us to use the ground to launch up, and that's the type of move we're trying to get when we're swinging the driver for max power. So I'm going to set up, I'm just going to loop my lead hand around the band and then loop my right hand, or clasp my right hand over that, And then from here, what I'm really focusing on is I'm going to get a little bit of tension on the band to start. And now my intent is I feel like that I'm trying to smash my hands this way. So an upward path on my hands, but a downward, really strong downward drive on my lead leg. And that's going to get me that really powerful move coming in towards impact. So here, you can also do that with the medicine ball by coming up, down, and then getting that drive. Obviously, you need a ball or a wall to throw the medicine ball off, and the band is an alternative if you don't have one. So while the exercises that were used to break down the 4-phase model into separate phases are excellent for helping you develop a feel, what you will notice is that when they're broken down into very specific segments like that, it's quite different to what happens in the 1-second golf swing. And we also don't really get a chance to produce power in a very fast manner, which is what we need to do in the swing. So now I'm going to show you 2 exercises which help merge together those 4 phases into more of a dynamic, explosive movement that you can use to really try and enhance how much power you can produce when you're swinging. The first one that I'm going to show you is using a medicine ball, and I call this a dynamic transition. You'll notice the movements that I'm using from the 4 phases, but this is going to be merging them together and really working on the explosive power of the movement. So I like to start this with some counter movements or almost extended waggles. You'll notice that as I'm doing this, I'm getting a little bit of movement in my feet too. As I go to the left, my right heel raises up. As I go to the right, my left heel raises up. And that's just going to get you ready to produce a lot of power. And then from here, I'm going to come back. That's going to get my shift to the right. I'm going to get my upload or unload and raise up as high as I can. And then from here, I'm going to work on that sit and squat as the download. And I'm going to slam the ball into the ground. I'm going to show you a couple of these in real speed, and you'll get a better idea from it. So here, so what's happening here is as I get up to the top, I'm getting that big upload or unload, and then simultaneously I'm starting my download or squat. I'm rotating my hips, and then I'm really slamming the ball into the ground as hard as I can. So this would be my finish position. You're probably asking, but that's not what we're doing into impact with the club, which is a good question or a good point. But what that's really setting us up for is that if we have done a good backswing and loading phase to here, and we've done a good transition where we've got into this set or download phase or movement, you're not going to have any issue producing a lot of power in that launch phase towards the end of the swing if the stuff that's come before it is very good. So that's the idea of this dynamic transition. Up, getting as much of that upload mass up as you can, high hands, and then you're getting that sit and rotate. The ball slams down, and that position that you're working on there is going to set you up really well for phase 4, the launch, which I showed you with the band, and I'm going to show you with the ball. If you have the luxury of a medicine ball that is suitable for throwing off a wall and a wall that is suitable for being hit with a medicine ball, you can do one of my favorite exercises for power development for golfers, which merges in those 4 phases and will really help your power. So it's going to look like this. If you remember our 4 phases, we have the shift to the right, then we have the unload or the upload up as high as we can. We have the download or the squat into transition, and then we really have that launch phase where you drive down through the left foot and the hands start to drive up as we tilt back and rotate. And you can use this drill to put all 4 of those together and really concentrate on power. You don't have to think about the breakdown too much. Everything comes in and ties in nicely. So I'll try a couple for you here. Gonna do 1 at a slower speed, or maybe 2 at a slower speed, and then a couple with as much speed as I can. So shift, up, squat, and then launch, okay? So shift, upload, squat, and launch. So I'll try a couple now at full speed. Just let go of that one a little bit too early. That one was better. It'll probably take you a couple of reps to get into the timing and coordination. So there is your 4-phase model, Steve's biomechanical breakdown, and my attempt to put the exercises together to help you develop the feel and also enhance how much force you can produce. You can tell that I'm a little bit out of breath. It turns into a really, really good workout too. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed this mini series that Mike and I have put together for you. If you like the stuff that I'm doing here with ground reaction forces, please follow me. I am on social media channels on Instagram, and my tag is @sfgolfperform. My Facebook page is Steve Furlonger Golf Performance, and I'm also on YouTube, Steve Furlonger Golf Performance. It would be great to have you on my channel. I post on a regular basis, often 4 or 5 times per week, all about ground reaction forces for speed and power production. And also I'm beginning to get into lots of data on wedge play and short game with ground reaction forces as well.